with another rate reduction, do you think that is going to be a bit more motivation for people to jump and start looking and going into houses again? Or do you suspect they're going to say, okay, well, we're a little bit lower now, but are we going to go a little bit lower in November and then I'll wait again? I'm
Yeah.
asking you to read people's minds, which is
No, no, I
ridiculous.
love it. I love it. This is this is where, as realtors, we become advisors.
Yes.
And I also have to preface this because after 20 years of being an advisor, there are still people that I advise and will do the complete opposite, right? So just because they don't take advice
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're not good at what you do. Um,
Right.
this, in my mind, wholeheartedly, I believe we have a runway for value right now. And even when I was first kind of jumped in, you were talking about it briefly, but we have a runway for value right now, whether that be from this point until early spring, this point until summer. It's hard to kind of time it perfectly, and I will never be one that's going to try to time it.
Yeah.
This would be the time to look into things, and this is where you're going to get, yeah, maybe it's not the lowest rate that's going to be in the market in the next year. However, it's marry the house, date the rate, right? You're going to get that value now. You're going to save that money off that selling price now, and then be able to kind of carry that forward. I think that we're going to start to see more and more people kind of jump into the market. I don't think it's going to be the run to the market
Right.
until I honestly think it's going to be early spring. And
Yeah.
to Crystal's point earlier, that is when everyone decides it's time to go jump into the market. That is when we get into multiples. That's when price level increases exponentially, right? And so for those individuals who are looking at who are testing the waters, who are looking and ready, if the right property came along, it's now more than ever. It's not that idea of, well, let's save 0.1% or even 0.2% on the mortgage. If we take the strategy when it makes sense of, okay,
Yeah.
maybe instead of doing the fixed rate, we look at a variable rate instead, and knowing that, okay, maybe we're not going to be at the lowest rate right now if we take variable. However, we will ride that rate down as things continue to fall. And this was one of the points that I wanted to touch on from the mortgage perspective as well. This strategy is just so important. Again, we talk all these kind of advice pieces that we can use as realtors to speak to our clients. And that's okay. If it makes sense when we look at the big perspective for a client to take a variable rate mortgage, and even if they don't love variable rate mortgages, they can still ride that rate down, get into the house for a better value at this point, and then in 6 months or a year from now, when fixed rates have dropped, they can lock in their mortgage without paying a penalty to a fixed rate. And just while I'm on that really quick, if we look at, so I was mentioning a bit on the where interest rates are, Bank of Canada's control of over everything, and that's really focused on the variable side of things. However, the fixed rate does tend to echo what the variable is doing. But I think the biggest and the key point to remember right now is if we're looking simply at fixed rates, then we look at that 5-year treasury bond, because that is what depicts where our fixed rate or our 5-year fix is going. That's sitting at 2.69% right now. So we have a large spread, as say fixed rates, call it around 4% right now. That's a large spread from where true rates are to where we're what we're measuring off of, right? And so we kind of look at that as a leading indicator of where these fixed rates are going. So again, Sorry, a long way of saying I do think that we'll start to see people trickle in more and more into the market because it's so emotionally driven. The more good news we
Yeah.
have from rates lowering, improvements in certain areas, that's going to help more and more. But unfortunately, this idea of a rush back to the market, I think it's going to be all at once, and I think, or a lot, the
Right.
majority, and I think it's going to be early spring.